Hello and welcome to your Friday night podcast here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew and I'm joined tonight by three of my very favourite podders, Andrew, Amrit and Calvin. You might have thought that the podcast was starting at 8 o'clock. I can assure you that it's not. It's starting at 7. That was always the plan. It wasn't a case that someone mistakenly added in the wrong time or anything like that. No one would have done that. We are obviously a competent professional organisation here at Four Lads, so don't be surprised. But let's go from, the opposite of professionalism and organised and talk about Rangers last night against Roma. Not a massive surprise, I think, Andrew, in the result itself. But I think the more disappointing aspect of it was the type of performance that we got out of it. Rangers looked fairly listless. I think we got less than a 1.0 XG. Not that, you can set much stock by that, but I think it's an indication of how attacking we were during the game and how much we threatened. All in all, a poor performance. And anyone who's watched the vlog with Kenny and Stevie from last night will know exactly where the general thoughts of Four Lads are. But let me get your take, mate.
We fell to a kind of injury-ridden Roma side who didn't really need to get out of first gear, now we went out of second gear. We didn't really lay a glove on them. There was some players who looked like they were up for it, some players that certainly didn't look like they were up for it. And as a whole, when in a kind of tie like this or a game in the position we are in the league phase, we needed everybody to be all hands to the pump and moving in the right direction, and we weren't, and it showed on the overall poor performance, the result as a whole, and again continuing to be sitting where we are in the league phase, and looking staring down the barrel going out of another competition after being out of the cup, the semi-final stage. So yeah, another kind of grim viewing as a whole. We just need to get back on the horse domestically in the league at the weekend, but yeah, it's just a tough night.
Yeah, I think the point Andrew makes, Amrit, about Roma barely needing to get into first gear, let alone second, is a fair one. We, I think, at spells had some players who looked like they were showing a bit of effort, but even playing at what looked like for some of these guys their absolute best, Roma swept us aside. First goal far too easy from a set piece. Second goal looks like something you used to be able to score on FIFA. Just far too easy for Roma to get the result there. And I think it certainly leaves us pretty much with an insurmountable mountain to climb in the Europa League. But I think it's a reflection of where this squad is at right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what I would say, Andrew, on a positive note, I think the best thing about yesterday was that tifo. I mean, how incredible was that tifo? I can remember walking up to my seat, seeing the tifo, the gladiator music came on, the three hairs I've got on my head stood up, and it was incredible. And it was such an amazing feeling, a great way to start the game. And then all you heard was, "Well guard all daddies," and the place just erupted. It was incredible. But after that, unfortunately, the enjoyment and the elation really fell off pretty quickly, as Andrew said. I don't think anybody expected us to win yesterday. That's the honesty. We didn't go into that. We didn't have that same buzz about Ibrox on a Thursday night where anything seemed possible. That's gone. It's long gone, and it's sad that we've fallen to these depths now. But that's the reality of where we are. Roma are a far better team than Glasgow Rangers at the moment. That much is clear. There was a distinct difference in quality between the two teams. I think that they didn't really need to try too hard to get the victories. I mean, to get the victory, the set piece for me is devastating to see because you can see it coming. It's happening far too regularly and consistently. It's almost a carbon copy in some respects as the goal that we conceded at Hampden against Celtic. if you look at the position of where that their captain is when he wins that first header, he's in between Raskin and he's in between, I think, Mickey Moore. Tiny, what are these guys? 5'5", 5'6". He's at the front post. He's towering over them in the same way that Kenny did between, I think it was Raskin and Magoma on Sunday. The same position. Doesn't really have to work hard to win the ball. And I'm just like, if these are the threats, and we've only got a couple of big guys in our team, if we've only got Suter, if we've only got Jigger, why are we not making sure that our big guys are on their big guys? Just as a very basic principle. I mean, I'm not a football coach or a defensive guru or anything. I'm not even sure I have the bandwidth to be able to understand the differences of what goes on. But on very simple, basic terms, big guys on big guys, wee guys on wee guys, put someone on the post. I mean, traditionally, that's what we used to do. There was no one on the post. The guy's there at the back and he's got all day to tap it in. So it's just frustrating to see because it feels like it's avoidable. And then the second goal, well, like you said, like on FIFA, almost the ball comes. So I don't even think Suter knows that boy's at his back. Really, that is it. Dobrov, I think his name is. He's got all the time in the world, brings it down, squares it, and the finish really was just so nonchalant and easy. He's passed it into the bottom corner, but that's just how simple it was for them, and it was horrible to see. It really was for us, and just left you feeling really, really empty after the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Amrit, one thing I will say is I can always rely on you to find a spark of positivity, even if it wasn't anything that actually happened on the pitch, you know? So, yes, I will absolutely agree that Tifo was colossal. But, yeah, as you say, then the game started. Calvin, you know, second half, the manager makes some changes. We do more FIFA stuff. We just throw strikers on and pray that something happens. But, unfortunately, our strikers look more toothless than a granny at the moment. It's just a complete lack of cutting edge there. Chimiti, plenty's been said about, but that transfer fee is going to sit around him like a weight. Danilo, I think, is not completely out of that kind of realm either, given that he cost a fair few million as well. And, you know, our third option, although we had, I think, memories of him being an effective striker, has not looked good. Miovski's just not looked effective since he's come in as well. So really poor, I think, you know, to see that we didn't really push Roma to even attempt to do anything stronger than they had to. That first half meant that the game was pretty much sewed up. I think at 2-2, 2-1, 2-0, sorry, good Lord. Just inventing optimistic scorelines in my own head. 2-0 is meant to be the most dangerous scoreline. But it was absolutely not that for Roma. They looked more comfortable in that second half than they did at any point in the first half because we just did not threaten them whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think that's the alarming thing. Like, the times that we did get through, I don't think Kenny's were confident that it was going to hit the back of the net. But the big chance for Chimiti where he went down wide and he hits the side netting, that happened right down in front of me. And when he came through, we were all just like, he's got to miss. And then you get the sarcastic shout when it goes, hits the side netting. That's the scary thing for me. Like, there's no conviction as we go through and go. Like, there's simple decisions that can be made. They don't make them. There's chances to square it across, to make chances easier. They don't. They're just thrashing at things. They're not playing on instinct. If anything, you could argue sometimes they're trying to impress too much. They're trying to do that wee thing that's too much, that's too hard, just to try and grab the goal, rather than doing the simple things as they go through. I don't see where we're going to get goals for at this stage right now, if I'm being honest. Like, how many simple chances are we giving up? That's the big thing for me. Like, we're getting through one-on-ones. We're getting 3 chances at back posts. They're not paying off. We are probably at that stage where we just need a bit of luck to happen for somebody. And sometimes that can set a wee spark and it can create chances and it creates a bit of self-belief and confidence. But right now, they're not doing the simple things well. And it's tough to watch sometimes. Like, I could about 20 minutes in last night, you looked around when you were sitting, how many people looked like they could be bothered to be there, and that's scary. Like, there's a real soul of the support was ripped out, in my opinion. Like, the atmosphere was quite flat. There wasn't that kind of same buzz after about 5 minutes that we've been getting. That's the worrying thing. And I think the Battle of the Banners kind of sums that up. Like, there's this real disregarding the support for what's happening. And for the second half, that was probably spent more time watching where 2 banners were going than what was happening with the ball in the park. That's a scary thing. Things need to change really, really quick. They need to get a grasp of it. We probably do need... We've got something to have shades of effort depending when the situation is. but we probably just need that goal to drop in quite soon, just to get the players back on their wee bit of confidence boosting at that stage. But it could be a while at this stage, but hopefully at Dundee and Sunday things can change quite fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And, knock on wood, so far our league form under Danny Roll has been good. 2 for 2 in terms of wins in the league. So you've got to hope that run of form continues. But I want to stick with you briefly, Calvin, on the banners, because there's one which was political that will probably get us a fine from UEFA, which I won't touch on. But the ones that were in that took about 12 minutes to make their way up through the crowds to get displayed. The second one, that this is not a football, this is our lives, along with the banners referring to Stewart and Thelwell, I think reflect where the mood is at. That's the first time I've heard chants in the ground as well, directed specifically towards Kevin Thelwell. And I think it's a reflection on where the fan base, I think certainly the fans in the stadium last night, have seen where the issues are. There wasn't a lot of ire directed towards the manager. There wasn't even a lot of ire directed towards the players. The vast majority of the fans' ill will right now is directed towards Kevin Thelwell, and I suspect Patrick Stewart as well. Do you see this as being tenable at all? I guess it only comes down to if the players start performing, but at the moment, they do not look like they're going to bail him out.
Yeah, let's face it, it's never been a rosy relationship between them since it kind of kicked off. You looked at the downsizing in the players. We've lost about 60 odd goals between Czerny, Igamani, Dessers, replaced them with Miofsky, Chermiti, who cost more than pretty much all three. Rather than the Igamani sale, there's a lot of ill feeling towards that now. We're looking at a team that's been dismantled and was supposed to be rebuilt, and we've filled them up with championship jobbers mostly. It's not good enough. If the players come in and hit the ground running, we wouldn't be seeing it, but the fans know what's happening and we can kind of see where it's going. Some players just look like they're not made to be a team that requires them to win every single week. They can't handle that demand. They can't handle the expectation. They can't handle that bit of stick that they get. I remember last year when Czerny went, I think it was against Hibs, when he gave a bit back to the fans and he quickly learned you don't be doing that when you're not performing. And he accepted it. He had a really good interview after to say he didn't realise the expectation that was following him, but he was one that stepped up. I don't see these players stepping up as fast as he did. And that's where the ill feel's going towards like Thelwell, because he's brought these players in, he's backing them up, he's put this scouting team in place, and they haven't produced much goods. We thought we had a shining light in Gassama at the start, but he seems to have faded away, and that can come down to confidence, the changing system. But the good things that were in the squad are now dwindling very, very quickly. And that's the scary thing. It all comes for that recruitment. Stewart had a go at the fans before. That didn't go down well because he jumped on the gun very, very quickly without understanding what was happening. And I think his writing on the wall has been for that moment, because he didn't win the fans back at all. And he doesn't seem like the type of man that can galvanise a club like Rangers. He's your CEO. He's your kind of face of the kind of organisation, really. And we don't hear much from him. And when we do, we're normally quite disappointed in what he comes with. So between those two things, recruitment and representing the club, it's not looking attainable for me. And that's just my opinion, obviously. But the fans look done with it.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. I don't think as a CEO, director of football, you do not, I think, come back from attacking the fans. Fans are going to be here before you. They're going to be here after you as well, because it's not a hobby. It's our lives. We're spending our Friday nights talking about it, lads. So, it's a kind of reflection on where we're at. Amrit, I know it's not exactly a positive topic, but I think reflecting on the mood of the fans there, it was vocal, really bad, directed towards Thelwell. Does he have any ability to dig himself out of this hole, or is this it? Is he done as far as the fan base is concerned?
Well, like you said, Andrew, that's the first time that we've heard chants directed to Thelwell. Certainly the first time I've heard them. So I think it must be, because I don't think, have I missed a game this season? No, I haven't. So that's the first time that I've heard it. And you can understand the fans' frustration, because ultimately he has been given the responsibility, the autonomy to build the squad in the summer. So he was responsible for the players that went out, and he was responsible for the players that came in. That was his job. He spent significant money doing it. And he, as the Calvin was saying, he's replaced players with players that are not as good. It's as simple as that. Now, I get that occasionally, if you're looking at recruitment, you're not always going to be able to guarantee that everyone you bring in is going to be a success at any given club. There can be some mitigating circumstances where certain players don't perform the way you would hope. Because if every player did perform the way you would hope, there wouldn't be player trading. So not everybody fits into different clubs and systems and cultures and all that. I get that. But that's the exception. That's one of two. We have a broad spectrum of players that he has been responsible for bringing into this club that are all, bar one or two potentially, that are not up to standard. He has to take accountability and responsibility for the decisions that he has made. We've given him 3-4 months or so to see these players and see how they've developed, and they haven't developed the way we wanted to or the way that we expected them to. Now, the real challenge for me, I think, Andrew, is what happens in January. Because if that's my business, if I'm Andrew Kavanagh, I'm saying I've given you the best part of a net spend of £20 million, Kevin Thelwell, and this is what you've brought me. Do you now expect me as the owner of this business to give you even more money to go and invest the way you've invested in the past when you have no credibility? I have no examples of players that you have bought that have done well. So why am I then going to even give you even more money to invest on my behalf? It doesn't make sense. He's a businessman. Surely he can see the stats. He can see the facts. He's not naive. You don't accumulate the wealth this guy's got if you're stupid and you don't know what you're doing. You don't get into the rooms he gets into. You don't get around the tables he's sitting at if you can't see what's going on in your business. So I think he must be having some serious considerations about how effective Kevin Thelwell's been. He put his faith in Kevin Thelwell, obviously, as business people do. You put people in positions and you give them autonomy, you give them responsibility. I don't think he's performed the job that you would expect. So for me now, Kavanagh has to be strong and say, well, I'm not giving you a dime more, and I need to replace you with someone else who knows how to invest wisely, because you, Kevin Thelwell, unfortunately, clearly don't.
I think you're absolutely right there, Amrit. Can't agree with a single word that you said. We're in that situation because Andrew Kavanagh is the person who's appointed these two. And the longer the situation goes on and the less it looks like the situation is going to improve, the more that light, Andrew, is going to go towards our fellow Andrew, Mr. Kavanagh, because ultimately he's the one who's hired these guys. These are his people that he's put in place. When they continue to not perform, you would hope that that someone who is now the owner of the club would have to look at that and go, these guys aren't doing the business. These guys aren't performing for me. And it's time to look for some replacements.
Definitely, yeah. You can say what you want about the fact that Thelwell and Stewart have been inept, but you can't really put too much blame on those above them. I think Marath and Kavanagh have did all they really can do from their perspective. They've put their money forth to get in this position, to be the owners of a great club. They have they have in fact put the money in to spend in the summer. Our issue is the people spending it were given the check to go and spend on players and strengthen the squad have dropped the ball massively. Is a nice way of saying it. I said completely different words in the stadium the other night in terms of how I really feel about them. But it's a family-friendly podcast. I keep trying to tell myself that. It's one of these things where the longer the Russell Martin sacking debacle and how long it took for them to make that decision you start to point the fingers at above Thelwell and Stewart, because they weren't going to get rid of the lackey in charge. And you started to ask action of the owners. You'll now get into the same situation with Thelwell and Stewart themselves. The longer you keep them in positions, the more stick and blame needs to start being pushed towards the ownership, because they are standing idly by and letting this happen. And that's not acceptable. As the comments are saying, I think Davy Weir at Strasbourg is a tough one to take. But yeah, it's difficult, and it's not going to stop. The banners are just going to keep rolling out. And this is the way that the support feels action is most likely to be taken if you can continue to drive this message from the support. then you're hoping that it will eventually sink in with those above. But yeah, difficult times, but yeah, I don't think there's any end in sight with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Only thing that we can do as fans is start looking forward to the next game. So we know that we have Dundee this weekend, Sunday at 3. And yeah, again, I think, coming back to you, Amrit, I think it does represent an opportunity to, try and keep the league form ticking over. Obviously, the start of this league campaign has not been exactly ideal, but under Danny Roll, we've looked much more organised. We've seemed to plug up the gaps and stop leaking goals. I think the Hibs win indicates that we can defend when we need to, and we can restrict our opposition to limited chances. But I think the concern for me is up at the other end. That being said, Dundee have got 1 win in 5. They are potentially going to be bottom of the league, depending on how other leagues' results go prior to our game. So we know that on paper, we should be able to relatively comfortably beat them. The problem is that the theory's never really panned out so far in terms of what we should be capable of doing and what we have been doing so far. But how do you see this one going, mate?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Andrew. I'm actually looking forward to going up to Dundee on Sunday. I really am. We've just got to put last Sunday behind us. We've got to put last night behind us, unfortunately, however difficult that is. We've got to just compartmentalise that. We're out of the League Cup. We're pretty much out of the Europa League now. Perhaps not mathematically, but realistically, we're not going to win the remaining 4 games given the performances we've been putting in up to now. So it's almost as if the distraction of the Europa League's gone now, and we just focus and throw ourselves into trying to salvage some dignity in the league and trying to get up that league and finish as high as we possibly can. And that journey continues and starts again on Sunday. So I think the guys should be going up there positive. I think they should be wanting to put a show on for the fans. I think they should understand the importance and significance of Sunday, with it being Remembrance Sunday. Hopefully, it strikes a chord in their hearts and in their minds of just the emotion of the day and what it means to Rangers fans, what it means to the club, what it means to our nation. Hopefully, that can galvanise them and encourage them to put on a performance that they would be proud of. That's what I'd really like to see from them. But Dundee are there for the taking. Like you said, their current form isn't great. They did beat Celtic at Dens Park. They won 2-0. I think that was the last time they played at home. So they've turned Celtic over. I think since then they got battered up at Pittodrie. Was it 4? And then they went to Tiny and they gave them 4 as well. So they're leaking goals. They're there for the taking. The problem is, like you said, we haven't scored 4 goals this season in a game. And the likelihood of us doing that is quite slim. I think we've got to play Danilo for me. I think he has to start. I felt he was a little bit unlucky on Sunday to be the one that was sacrificed when we went down to 10 men. He left Chermiti on, he took Danilo off. That's Danilo off the back of scoring against Kilmarnock and scoring Hibs, and then he's the one that gets pulled. And then he doesn't start last night either. So he might be thinking, look, I've scored twice here and I wasn't even getting started on Thursday. So that maybe knocked the lad's confidence a bit. But I think you go with him because Chermiti, there was both chances yesterday. He's not worked the goalkeeper with either of them. And as Calvin was saying, that second one, he's hit the side netting in front of the Copeland Road. But there was definitely an opportunity that Calvin mentioned there was squaring it, because I think Gassama was in acres of space, and if he had that awareness and looked up, it was literally a square ball, and almost the finish probably would have been similar to Pellegrini's one, where it was just a nice side foot in the bottom corner, and we score. But it's that lack of awareness. Maybe he's just desperate to score and he's got the tunnel vision on, perhaps. But I think for me, you've got to play Danny, give the guy a run, and we've got to be disciplined. I think in every area of the game, we've got to focus, we've got to concentrate from the start. We can't do this Rangersy thing where it's all right, it's half time, let's start playing now. After chaos, after everything going wrong, after having loads of problems and then trying to come back from the depths of failure. It's just not manageable. It can't work on a long-term basis. We've got to make sure that we're out the blocks early and taking the game to Dundee, because I think if we do, they're definitely there for the taking.
Yeah, I agree. I think where we sit, where they sit, we're even above them in the league, and that wasn't a guarantee early in the season. So yeah, it is going to be an interesting one. Like Amrit says, Calvin, I think it is an opportunity to kind of bounce back and maybe inject a little positivity into our lives. It would just be genuinely nice for Rangers not to ruin a weekend for a change. And they've managed to not do it so far under Danny Rowe. But, we hope that we don't start another unwelcome trend come tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd like us just to give me a positive performance. Obviously, the swap to the back three for the recent games, and it worked really well against Hibs, but we've started to see some fragilities in it just now. I think when we go to the 3-4-3 kind of formation, we sometimes lack that man around Chermiti. If it's going to be him, Daniel obviously is the one that's been scoring the goals. It'd be nice to get them a wee bit closer to each other. Do we need three at the back at all times? I know Daniel said it was to deal with the long ball threat, so maybe we do, but can we do anything where we get more bodies up the park quicker? Because that seems to be the biggest thing. There's too many gaps. Once we get forward, there's very few players in the attacking areas. When it comes to the wing backs, and we go for the hit and hope at the box quite often. There just seems to be a little bit of just, they're not linking well enough. Danilo's definitely the best finisher in the squad just now, so he really has to play. I'm desperate to see Finlay Curtis get a chance. Like, he's scored 3 goals this season already with the very limited game time that he's had. And players like that right now will be chomping at the bit to try and get things to happen. You've seen how it's worked across the city with a few players that have come out the blue. I think it's a time for Finlay Curtis to get his chance. There's players in there that are kind of not giving us the effort, they're not giving us the desire. And I think with Finlay, he'll be right on it. So for me, he's got to play. Lyle Cameron, potentially back up at his old home ground. He could be just that player that can jump into that space as well. There's things that need to change, and I think some players maybe need a wake-up call in some sense that it's not their position in the squad and there's other players ready there to take it. So I'd like to see a bit more of attacking threat and get some players that deserve opportunities in there. And that's what I'd be looking at. Try and get Curtis, Danilo, Chermiti. I liked Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore's really starting to impress me. He's ball carrying, his decision making. He's been very determined since he's come in there. He's been a big difference since Danny Rose came in. So it'd be nice to see these types of boys all getting a chance together. They're going to get us energy up top, being a bit more direct, taking shots, taking chances, getting chances for inside the box. Most of our shots come from the edge of the area these days, which is unheard of because we never liked to shoot for the edge of the box before, but now look at us. So it'd be nice to get that wee cutting edge in front of goal. So that's where I'm at. Solid at the back, try and dominate the midfield, move the ball forward quickly, use the wide areas effectively, and get bodies in the box to try and change things up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm less concerned about our defence right now, Andrew, because we have shown over the past couple of games that we can, at least in Scotland, in the Scottish League, do a bit better in terms of defending there. But the attack for me, I think, is where we need to change. Amrit's talking about Danilo coming in. Calvin's mentioned Finlay Curtis as well. I quite like the idea of playing both of them up there. The 3 at the back formation does lend you more towards a 2 up top, or even just one playing off the other. I would like to see that. I'd also like to see Lyle Cameron coming back in as well, because I think he can feel aggrieved because I don't think he's put a foot wrong in any of his performances. He picked up an injury because he ran himself into the ground, trying to get a result for us. So I'd like to see some changes there, and I think there are certain players who need to come out, potentially even for their own good. Chermiti's obviously not doing enough, I think, to justify a starting position. Gassama looks like he's burnt out, which is shocking given that we're only in November. But I think if you are the sole attacking outlet for your team and you're constantly being asked to, okay, we'll give the ball to you, you make something happen, and then like 3 guys immediately kills you, it's never going to be a fun time. So I'd like to see some rotation there, and I'd like to hopefully see us get back to some winning ways. It should, again on paper, be a winnable tie.
Yeah, to throw out the classic, games aren't won on paper, they're won on grass. But I think, as the 2 lads have said before me, that I think Curtis is in Calvin's case and Danilo in Amrit's cases, I think it's we've seen players get played in certain games. The Chimiti's been given every opportunity across Europe to do something, and he's failed to reach that mark, hit that target. He scored obviously, and he scored against Kilmarnock, and we thought, great, because we do want him to be a success. That's the thing. We want every player in the blue shirt to go on to be an icon for the club. We sell him for millions and millions of pounds, and then we're rolling. But at this point in time, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. And for the betterment of our club in these games, if someone's on the bench that you may be worth just throwing in, you may as well do it. I think Finlay Curtis is the main one I really like to see. I think this season, we're not quite there yet, but if this continues to go the way it has been looking like, we should be using this as development. There was a lot of talk of Clinton and Ciala being an invisible man, and now he kind of been brought into the fold again after being bombed out by Russell Martin. I think, we spent so much money in Emmanuel Fernandez. You've got a lad in for next to nothing if there's a development fee involved from an academy like AC Milan, and we're convinced he's not good enough. Lyle Cameron, another one. Yeah, I think we need to give him as much game time as we can, and making sure he continues to develop, because he's certainly done no harm for himself so far in his Rangers career. Obviously, physical harm, unfortunately, running himself into the ground's another conversation. But not put a foot wrong in my opinion. Conor Barron, I think he's continuing to pick up the slack that Nico Raskin's leaving. I think the sooner Nico realises he's not on loan to Rangers from Belgium, the better, because it's beyond belief how he seems to run the Belgium national team, but can he play 90 minutes for Rangers and look like a competent midfielder? Mikey Moore goes against all the kind of thoughts on the loan players, because we get Derek Canellis, who won't be here next season, Jenny Magoma won't be here next season, Nasser Giga won't be here next season, and yet I know we're well aware we'll not see Mikey Moore anywhere near this club after the end of the season, but he's been working his socks off since Danny Rule came in. He's adapted to the changes, because I think Russell Martin was completely running him into the ground. No clue how to play the lad. But he's been thriving and just giving me the ball, and I'll run it someday. I'll try and commit players and earn space for my teammates. I'd like to see him kind of in the middle of the park almost, so you can get a Curtis on the wing or a Gassam on the other wing. Tello Asgard is baffling. The red card didn't put him in anyone's good books, and then he comes on against Roma, and you're thinking, perfect, you've got a good opportunity to put yourself back in the good books. We're down in this game. Work your socks off. Try and get us a goal involvement here, an assist, a goal, something to get us going. And he walked about the park for all the time he was there. Wasn't high enough the park to be an option for Chimiti or Majowski or Danilo. Wasn't deep enough in the park to be an option for the centre halves of the other midfielders. He kind of lingered in no man's land and was useless for us. A kind of empty jersey altogether. So I think he needs to be cold and cutthroat with his decisions for the squad. I think he needs to put development first for some of them, in terms of homegrown talent, but also, as Calvin said, this jersey isn't yours. You need to earn it. So yeah, I'd like to see him make drastic change.
We have unfortunately had multiple opportunities to say this in the past, Amrit, but players will get managers the sack. We've unfortunately seen that happen plenty over the past couple of years. And if you persist with players who are underperforming or who aren't good enough, whether it's a lack of talent or a lack of effort, the actual result is the same. So it's immaterial which one it is to begin with. You need to, I think, as Andrew says, start being ruthless. You need to start, just flat out going with, no, I've tried this before and it's still not working. I think persisting with Chimiti doesn't make sense if you're looking to get a result. I think persisting with Asgard, who doesn't look like he's bothered, doesn't look like it's going to end well either. So there needs to be some hard decisions made. And listen, the league is realistically, I think, where we stand to build up the most goodwill. say the Scottish Cup is probably the most realistic place that we could pick up silverware this season, unfortunately. But it's been a pretty wild league so far, so I wouldn't rule anything out right now. We need to start getting some more points on the board. So that can only start by trying to get a result tomorrow. Jeez, I'm wishing my weekend away, and I shouldn't be doing that this Sunday when we play.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Andrew, that one of the encouraging things about Danny Rowe in the 5 games he's been in, you can see that he has shuffled the pack a wee bit. He's moved some pieces around to try and see what works, what doesn't. He's obviously trying to gauge himself where the qualities are, where the deficiencies are, who can do what, how they can play, how they respond, what kind of system they're best suited to, which is why we've seen a few different systems even within the game. I mean, last night we started off 3-4-3, then we went 4 at the back, then we went 4-2-3-1 almost, with 3 behind Chermiti. So you can see that he is quite fluid in his approach and he's moving some bits around, which is good. And he'll continue to do that, I think, but he needs to now start introducing some of these other guys because he's not getting tunes out the ones that he's been semi-relying on. I think, like Calvin said, I think Curtis needs to come in. I think tomorrow, Sunday, I'm doing the same as you now, Andrew. I think Sunday we go 4-3-3 for me. I would drop Suter. I would just drop him. I would say, no, you're not playing anymore. Have a seat. Because he seems to be bulletproof. He seems to be the only one under whichever manager he's playing that it doesn't matter what he does, he's always playing. There are no consequences to performing bad for John Suter, and I'm sick of it. I don't think he's a bad defender. He's just not playing very well just now. I would drop him. Fernandes is sitting there at 3.5 million. Throw him in. Play Cornelius beside him. Tav one side, Magoma the other side. What's the worst that can happen? It can't be any worse than what we've got. And then I'd drop Raskin. I love Nico Raskin, big fan of Raskin, but I genuinely think he's been off the boil. I think his head is elsewhere. I'm not sure his heart is in it at the moment. I'm not completely vilifying this guy at all. He's definitely, when he's on his game, he's our most talented player. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But I don't think Nico Raskin at the moment is in the right headspace because we're not seeing that on the park. So for me, I'd go with Dio, I'd go with Barron, I'd go with Lyle Cameron, I'd play Curtis one side, I'd play Moore the other, and I'd put Danilo through the middle and say, go on, guys, get a result, because I think we need to shake it up a bit. I really do. And I think some of these guys who have been, like Calvin said, really waiting for the opportunity, excited to play for Rangers, let's get them in the team and say, come on, show us what you're made of. Show us that you are the guys to try and pull us out of the depth of despair that we're feeling right now. And go up to Dens Park and just put a show on. There's going to be a great travelling support. They'll be in fine fettle, I'm sure, because we've got nothing left to cheer now. We've only got the league and the Scottish Cup. So I think the Rangers fans will be up for it because we will expect a performance. And I think it's incumbent upon these guys to give us that on Sunday. I really do.
Yeah, and
But
I
sorry,
agree.
Andrew, just to finish off,
No.
sorry, just the whole Danny Rule thing, like, there's only so much he can do with the guys he's got. Ultimately, they're not his players. He's come in halfway through the start of the season. So he's having to manage with the ingredients he's got. He didn't buy the ingredients. We've given him sausages and tatties. So he's only going to give you bangers and mash. If we've given him scallops and langoustines, then he might do us a nice seafood risotto. But we're not getting that just now. And we might not get that until January. So you can't decry the guy because he can only work with what he has. And he's trying to get the best out of him possible. And that's going to take a bit of trial and error. Sorry, that's me now. Sorry for cutting you off.
Amrit, the biggest offence there was that you've made me absolutely starving. I've still not had my dinner yet. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I like the idea of shaking up the team because I think you are absolutely right that there are some players in that squad who feel too comfortable. Raskin and Suter, I think, are players who know that they're going to get picked regardless of how poorly they play. And I don't think you can ever be in a position, especially playing for a club like Glasgow Rangers, where you should ever feel comfortable in your position. You should always be having an eye over your shoulder about the players behind you. Calvin, we know what the players need to do on the pitch. The disappointing thing is that the travelling support, as Amrit says, are unlikely to be able to display the Remembrance Day banner. It's something we've done at grounds previous, Livingston 2 years ago. It was a fantastic one. But for this one, Dundee's kind of policy on away fans displaying tifos means that we wouldn't be able to do it. which seems silly. Like, I mean, it's not exactly the kind of thing that you're smuggling in. It's the kind of thing that a club can review in advance. Amrit's doing Andrew trick there. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you should be able to review beforehand and sign off, especially for something like Remembrance Day. You'd think, the club can make an exception for it, but as it stands, it doesn't look like the Union Bears will be able to display it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you'd like to think common sense prevails. It's for pretty much the biggest thing that happens in the calendar year across any remembrance. Big thing in a lot of people's hearts. Fans of the club have family members that have died in those situations. So I'd like to think the club sees common sense and they just deal with it. To him get distracted with Arm here. He's got 360s and all sorts on the go.
I don't feel like it's bad now. I think this is on par this season. I just wait. I used to need to join in. I used to join in now. I used to join in. I'm expecting this before the end of the show.
I don't have a whole rotating camera set up here. Like, I've got the webcam that just sits there and it never moves. If it ever does, something tragic's happened, Look, folks, if you're tuning in, I don't know if you're expecting some kind of professionalism on Friday. That's absolutely not what we do here on the Friday show. It's never been about professionalism. Certainly not when I'm hosting anyway. Yeah, Calvin, I mean, I take your point. It's the kind of thing where you just say, yeah, you hope common sense prevails. But it's Scottish football, so
not much common sense ever happens.
And yeah, speaking about common sense prevailing, you'd be shocked to learn that Trusty should have had a red card.
That's a superb segue, by the way. You've absolutely phoned that one. That's unbelievable.
Listen, it's the kind of thing where, yeah, of course, yeah, obviously it should have been a red card. The player himself is obviously always going to say, I didn't, it's surely not a red card. I don't think you kick people in the head and get away with it, really. I just, crazy personal opinion on my part, kicking people in the head, bad. That's my own personal opinion. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, it's one of these frustrating things, Calvin, where something that I think pretty much 50,000 people looking in a stadium all thought the same thing, and only one person, or let's call it a team of 6 people, decided. And the guy who actually did it as well, they didn't think it was a bad thing.
Well, I think he did. I think he did.
Yeah. I think the disappointing thing is we are familiar enough with this narrative to know exactly how it goes. We get the apology. Oh, that's our bad, lads, and then nothing changes the result. That's the frustrating thing, because we've been in exactly this position multiple times before now.
Yeah, I think the big thing was if you listen to Jack Butland's press conference, it's setting a precedent now where keepers put themselves into a dangerous situation, diving low at players, and they can essentially have a foot flick towards their face, their eye, the boot get left in. That's where it becomes dangerous. And you could see when he was talking about it, he was pretty concerned about that as a situation itself. He says he knew the contact wasn't great, but it gives a decision to be made. It allows a situation to arise where you can take it in a very delicate place. You're a couple of inches either way, you can go towards the eye. I think that's what he's getting at. It doesn't matter how strong the contact is. It's only centimetres from being a disaster in those situations. So that's the worrying thing for me. And it seems to be, you could tell he wasn't happy at the decision because he talked about at half-time, he went and spoke to them, try to get clarity, and he wasn't happy about the reason it was given. Rightly so. The keepers put themselves in very dangerous situations. And it'd be interesting to see how it happens if it goes again. I think in general, most referees would have gave it as a red, the not as much force, and it's a dangerous thing to do. It's late, the ball's not there to be had. The keeper had the ball in his hands 2, 3, 4 steps before Trusty got there. I think that's the thing that annoyed most people. It wasn't a snap instinct decision. It was a very late decision. So I think the decision was wrong. They've obviously had the apology, or annual apology, or biannual apology, what we're going with now. It seems to be get quite a few of them, and it never seems to change. So it was good that the club actually tried to go after it and try and see what happened. There wasn't a dignified silence that we get quite often. So fair play to the club on that one.
Yeah, I think listen, I know the guys have already talked about it. I think the statement could have been stronger, and it should have contained something specific outcomes that we want from it as well. The problem with saying we're disappointed in it is, okay, cool. What are you going to do next, though? There's no action from that. There's no demands to say, we need something to change. I don't know what that is, but then I'm not the CEO of a football club, so it's not really my position to be asking that either. But clearly, the situation as it's been allowed to continue, I don't think it's sustainable. Andrew, not much more to say. Just we never exactly. We don't want to come on and be negative. We don't ever want to come on and just be miserable for 45 minutes. The fact that we've got Amrit here, doing his flips is helping enormously, I think, keeping the mood elevated. But it's never easy, and I am grateful to all three of you for coming on and doing this, because it's never easy to do it in the context of a loss, and certainly, as we discussed, the mood amongst the support I don't think has ever been as low as this, at least not for a while. So the fact that we have guys like yourself, like Amrit, like Calvin, and the rest of our fantastic podding team who want to come on and keep talking about the team and keep looking towards the hope that good times are coming back again, it is always good to see. So thank you, mate. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, cheers for having me on, man. Yeah, again, just to echo that, we do our absolute utmost best efforts to be positive. It's one of the things we see all the time is, oh, it's so negative, it's so negative. We are absolutely doing our best, folks. I'm seeing that within about 10 minutes, so many people going tonight's therapy session. I think it kind of says where we are as a whole, especially on a Friday night after, it's the weekend, but you've just had another punch in the gut from last night. We're doing our absolute utmost best to put a smile on our faces and tell you how we see it without, I said earlier, it's a family friendly show. At least I try my best to not drop, F-bombs and what's, because, it has been difficult at times, since I started, but our first podcast I ever did was just after an Old Firm Cup game where we get beat, and it's like, great positivity. Fortunately, not much has changed since that game, mind you, but yeah, it's the thought that counts, Andrew, isn't it? It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. I want to go around and thank everyone else. Amrit, I think this is the first time you and me potted together, but it's been a pleasure, mate. Certainly kept things interesting. So had a good time, man. I appreciate you always bringing the positivity. It's been fantastic, man.
Thank you, Andrew. It's been a pleasure, and it's the first time I've podded with Calvin and Andrew as well. So, guys, thank you for your company, and very grateful to be the newest member of the team, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And it's opened up a new interest in my life, and it's great to talk about the Rangers. Yes, it's a tough time, but listen, this is a labour of love. We know how this plays out. We know it's up and down. It's always a state of flux with Rangers. I think that emotional roller coaster is what keeps us so engaged. I don't know, but listen, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Hopefully, there'll be some improvements. I'm excited what Danny Rowe has to offer, and given some money and bringing his own players in, let's see what he's capable of, because that's what I would really like to see, because I think, in all honesty, he is the right man for the job, and I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. So there we go.
For sure, man. Calvin, always a pleasure, mate. I think, Rangers' downside in form has coincided with you not wearing the hat anymore. So, I mean, we've tried everything else, right? Like, we may as well go for that. There we go. Right, there we go. Win tomorrow. Or win on Sunday. My God, stop wishing away the weekend. We'll be there. Follow, we will. Thank you again, mate. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I feel like I need to join in and do a wee roll, so let's go with it. No bother it. Got to keep rolling with it. So
there it is. There it is, boys.
Your turn. Bye. Thanks very much, guys. Pleasure getting back involved in the Friday night kind of scene and roll on Sunday.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate everyone tuning in, guys. We know that it is not exactly a time of positivity here at Rangers, but we will continue to be here. We'll continue to keep telling the truth, keep giving you our views, and we're going to roll with it, as the boys have been saying. It's always a pleasure. We thank our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, CSD Air Conditioning, and Black Rooster in partnership with Art of Gold. Thanks to all of them so very much for continuing to support us. Thank you to everyone who is supporting us. The pod is at some ludicrous level now. I think 11,600 subscribers now. So we're getting close to that 1,200. The round numbers mean almost nothing, except it makes me happy to see them. So let's keep encouraging folks to subscribe. We also have over 600 members. If you're a sign up to that, you'll get all manner of exclusive content, including first and favorites with some of our very own podders, done with Davey Hurd. Amrit, I believe yours is on there as well. So, just a nice little preview for everyone to get to know all of our podders a little bit better. So, if you are supporting us that way, we do appreciate you. Even just tuning in, guys, over 2,500 of you tuning in across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Can't thank you guys enough. Honestly, the fact that you guys still turn out and support us is always wonderful. And even when things aren't particularly happy, we are very grateful to everyone who decides to take time out their Friday nights, tune in and hang with us for an hour. So thank you all very much. We appreciate you from tuning in. My thanks again to the three guys who joined me. And folks, until we talk to you again, goodbye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.